Hello, welcome back to Justin Talks Villa for my weekly review show where we just have a look at what's been going on at the club and talk about many different topics. So, what will we be talking about today? We have got the outgoings that have happened this week. We've got potential incomings that have been linked in the press. We've got a little bit about the new kit, which I'm sporting here. And I'm going to delve a little bit into finances with a fantastic new tool, which I've only just subscribed to. So I'm just going to have a quick look at that on live here on the show and give you a few of the highlights of what it's going to be all about. Hopefully it'll help me in the future to explain finances and Aston Villa's finances going forward much easier. It's from a brilliant source, but we'll get into that soon. We will have a look at the squad, where we're at now with all the outgoings, what we've been left with, potential more outgoings, but nothing too serious, I don't think. And then I'll finish on a lovely little story revolving these amazing programs, which I was gifted the other day, but we'll get into that at the end. So let's get into it. Weekly review. Let's go. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Been banging a few episodes out recently, but I'm enjoying doing the content. And we will get into what we are going to talk about today. Well, two big outgoings this week. First team players. Jacob Ramsey has gone to Newcastle and Leon Bailey has completed his move to Roma and immediately got injured. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about him. The Ramsey one's a bit frustrating that we've let him go, but I sort of understand the club's stance on this one. I think it's been a bit messy behind the scenes. We've seen a lot of players come out in support of Jacob. We've also seen some of the hierarchy coming out and wished him all the best. I don't think there's any hard feelings behind the scenes about what's happened. I think it was pretty openly reported that he was keen to sign a new deal. I think maybe that his estimation of where that deal should be and the club's estimation of where that deal should be seemed to be the big sticking point on this. And I don't think the club were going to move on it. So I think they eventually had to accept, I think his camp had to accept that it was probably best that he moved on if he wanted to get what he I'm not saying he's after the money at all, not at all, but he obviously didn't feel like the value that the club put on him was the value that he put on himself, and he's totally within his rights to exercise that and move away. The club were happy to take the money, and I think it's a deal that probably suited the club a bit more than it suited Jacob, but I wish him all the best at Newcastle. He's a fantastic young lad, apparently, and hopefully he's a success, not when he plays Villa, obviously. So, yes, what has it done to the finances? Now, this is the forever annoying thing we have to talk about here. But I found some really interesting graphs on Twitter today. So this is the first one I'm going to bring to you. This is the Premier League 23-24 gross financial debt. And it's the one statistic that annoys the hell out of me, because it doesn't matter how much debt you have, it has no bearing whatsoever on the players you can bring in. As we can see from the players, the teams at the top of this list, probably discounting Everton because most of that debt is for the new stadium. And to an extent, Spurs is the same as well, because they've both built huge new stadiums, state of the art. So a lot of that debt is loaded against the stadium. But if you look at the next four in the list, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, all got lots of debt hanging around them, but all of them have absolutely rinsed the transfer market this summer. And they're allowed to do so because debt has absolutely no factor whatsoever in how much you can spend. It's all about your revenue and your incoming against your outgoings. And I think from the most annoying one on that list for me is Manchester United. They have let go hundreds of loyal members of staff, yet they can go out and spend £80 million on a centre forward. So I wonder what those members of staff feel like when they are being given their marching orders, and then the next day they go and spend 80 million on a forward and paying him 250 grand a week. make that make sense to me, because I've got no idea why that is allowed to happen. And then right down there near the bottom, Aston Villa, only £34 million worth of debt. I mean, we're practically debt free. So it's just a very frustrating table to look at. And then this other table, which is interesting. Now, this led me on to come onto the software that I'm going to show you in a minute, because I wasn't aware of this. So let's look at purchases. So this is a table from 2020-21 to the 25-26 season. So this is Premier League clubs' purchases analysis across the last 6 seasons. This is how much each Premier League club has spent in the last 6 seasons in the transfer window. So obviously these are new clubs. Well, Sunderland's new. They've spent 172, which is understandable where they've been. Fulham, Palace, Brentford, Everton, Burnley, Bournemouth, Leeds, Brighton, Wolves, Forest, who are quickly catching up. Villa are £642 million spend. Now, this isn't the net spend. The next table is the next spend, net spend. Newcastle 685, West Ham, Liverpool, who have gone massive this summer, so that was quite low up until this summer, comparably with the others. Spurs have spent a fortune, nearly £1 billion. Arsenal are just touching £1 billion. City have gone past the billion. Manchester United, despite being absolutely dreadful, are past £1 billion. But this one blows my mind. Chelsea, nearly at £2 billion spent in the last 6 seasons. Again, could anyone explain that to me? Because I've got no idea. But this is the interesting one. This is the net spend. So this is the figures, which is money you spend versus money you bring in. And then that remaining figure is a net spend. So, for example, over the last 6 seasons, Brighton have made a £36 million profit in the last 6 seasons. Wolves, 11 million. And then we get into Everton, and then Bournemouth, and then where we are is here, because I'm behind the camera, sorry. A net spend of £160 million over the last 6 seasons. So I should have done this before I come out, but I'm going to do it now. That's a net spend of £26 million per year. Again, tell me why we are seemingly the only club that is having to cut their cloth accordingly this summer. I will not stop banging this drum. It is bitterly disappointing and bitterly frustrating that once again, Aston Villa are the team that are having to practically sell the crown jewels, sell everybody, try and retain the majority of the first team squad. Well, not be able to go out and spend and improve and get better. And again, look at the top 5 really here. I mean, Liverpool, as I say, because they didn't spend for a couple of seasons, they are sitting here. But Chelsea, nearly £1 billion net spend. Man United, I mean, these two have been woeful over the last few years. Arsenal are getting there now, and with the extra be added to this, Avezé as well. Spurs have spent a ridiculous amount of money, and Newcastle have, but they've had 2 Champions League qualifications in this period. So this table led me to this website. Okay, so we'll have to remove this, and then we'll add this. Now, again, I'm going to have to go over here. So this is called Value Ball, and this is a fantastic website that Kieran Maguire, and I've spoken to him this evening to thank him very much for this. It's there is a basic version which anybody can log into and get basic information. I have subscribed to the subscription one, so you don't have to. So this is a little bit about it. So I've put Aston Villa in. Now, this is single season, sorry. So if I go to Premier League details here, and then we go to Aston Villa, So now we've got Aston Villa's player wages and transfer fees 25-26. Okay, so it says, note the squads are not yet finalised, so their wage estimates will continue to be updated. Now, obviously, clubs don't release how much they pay each player, so they have to estimate them. Now, if anybody can do this as probably well as they can, this is how they do it. Individual player wages shown here are estimates calculated from each club's official annual wage bill. Since clubs don't disclose their contracts, we use UEFA's reported average. 70 to 80% of the wage bill goes to players. That's UEFA 2024, and distribute this total across the squad. Our method consists factors like appearances, seniority, recent contract renewals, and player roles. Actual figures may vary. So this isn't a set in stone thing. It's a pretty good stab at it. And it gives you the rough idea of what all the players are sort of earning. So anything from Onana's £187,000 a week. Bailey, you can understand why, if this is anywhere near close, which is, it's going to be pretty decently estimated, 187,000 a week. Watkins is on big wage. If that Moreno one's true, that's a surprising 161,000. Marlon, Buendia, Mings, Rogers, they're all on 100k plus a week. Bizzo right down the bottom, 66. Barkley, 678, and then it also estimates the young players here as well. So that, it's all very, very interesting. And again, I don't think it's not set in stone. So don't come at me like this. This is a brand new website. It also gives you access to club accounts. So it gives you the idea. If I can go into Villas here, it gives you a summary of the accounts over the last few seasons. So you've got broadcast revenue. So this is 2018, 2019. We brought in £22 million broadcast revenue, 13 million match day, 19 million commercial, and nothing in other income. So £54 million in 2018, 2019. And if we go up to last season, jump up to that, look at how that's gone up. So the total figure for 18-19 of £54 million in the revenue has now jumped to £276 million revenue, which is mind-blowing increase in that short space of time. So broadcast went up to 184 from 22. We've got match day at 28 million from 13 million. That needs to improve as well. Commercial 63 million from 19 million. So that's tripled. And then other income, still nothing. I'm not sure what that is as well. But these are all really fascinating bits of information. We've also got, we can compare clubs, which I'm going to have a good play around with this and get some information. And if there's anything you want to know, let me know and I'll try and find it on here. Club trends here as well. So you can add in all your players. That's City, Man United, Liverpool here. So this is revenue, how they all compare over the years, which clubs are the top. And last season it was Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. So this is fascinating. So yeah, I will revenue details analysis of where the money comes in. So we'll be able to look at comparing ourselves to the big clubs that bring in huge revenue streams. So Arsenal bring in £616 million in revenue. That's just, again, mind-blowing statistics. And the reason why we can't do what we do, because our revenue just doesn't compare to these clubs, unfortunately. So, yeah, we've got, this should be, like I say, very, very interesting to delve into over the years and over the season, and looking at where we are and roughly what we're doing. So we can go into Villa's section as well. We can go into Villa's section as well. We've got financial summary here of the revenue breakdown, like I said, and then we can go into expenses, non-cash. Sorry, if we go into this, then we can go into the details. So yeah, we can go into all kinds of different statistics and everything that Aston Villa got. But again, I'll have to have a good look at that. But we can probably have a good play around with it and come up with some really interesting statistics and figures. Right. So a few weeks ago, I did an episode on where the squad was at and how many players we had in each position. So I'm going to revisit that now because I think it's interesting. So this is the full squad on the JLL tactics pad that I've got. So this is every player's got on there, which is pretty much the full first team squad and a few of the kids that made their impact. So if we look to get rid, so this is just a generic Aston Villa 11. It's, standard one. It's not about the players anyway. It's about who's here. So if we go through these players here who are on the bench, so you got Barkley, got Garcia still here, Leon Bailey has now gone. We've got Hemmings, who's going to still be around. Redmond still being around. Jimo Aloba still being around. Moreno on the verge of going. Kamara will still be around. Iling Jr. Burrows still around. Emi Buendia looks like he's going to stay, which is good news. Torres. Well, have we got two Burrows? No idea, but we'll get rid of one. Jacob Ramsey disappeared. Anana retained. Bogard stick around. Rowe again, he's around. Gauchi has gone on loan. Dendonka finally gone. Dobbin currently still within the squad. Young James Wright. Luca Dean. Patterson. I don't know what happened there. In my opinion, I think there's room for two more players to come in. We'll come on to those in a minute. But this is how I think we could do it. So if we look at doubling up all these players where we're at, so Cash, Garcia. I'm going to discount Redmond at the moment and some of the young kids because they're just going to be in and around and needed in case of emergency. Although I do think Jimo Aloba is probably the head of the kids at the moment and probably got a chance. Just give ourselves a little bit of space here. You'll see why in a minute. So we've got Boubacar Kamara, who again, we part the double pivot. Emi Buendia, who is a 10. You got Torres left central defender. You've got Anana in the double pivot. You've got Bogard that can play right back or central defence. We've got Bizzo, he's the backup goalkeeper. Luca Dean makes up our two left fullbacks. Patterson, again, young kid. Right, young kid. Christian Rowe, stick him there. Ross Barkley. Now, these are the interesting three now for me, looking at the squad, right? What I say by that is we've more or less got two players for every position, barring up top, although Gassand can play there. And hold on, where's he gone? I'm missing someone. Where is... So we've got, I was missing Marlon, but he's there, look. So essentially we've got Marlon, Jimo Aloba can play there. Rogers, Buendia in the 10. Obviously, Rogers can play left as well because he has played there. Gassan can play up front or there. But I don't see a future for Dobbin. I think he goes out on loan, so I think we can discount him. I also think Iling Jr. will be out on loan before the end of the window. I think there could be a chance that Barkley could be surplus to requirements. Only because if you look at this team, we've got four excellent central midfielders there. They all can play in the double pivot. Obviously, they can play in different positions as well. Tielemans, as proved at the weekend, can play in the 8-10. McGinn can play off the right as well, like he has done a few times. I just think Barkley could be sacrificed to help bring in one or two players. So I think that's one to watch. Out of everybody in the squad, we've got a plethora of central midfielders there. And with young Burrows as well, and Bogarts can play in the double pivot as well. So if we were desperate, we've got one or two players that could fill the gap. So if we say Barkley could go, then I think we would all agree that it's looking a little bit light up top. Because essentially Jimo Aloba can be classed as one of these youngsters. Kusand, whilst he's an unknown quantity at the moment, I think he still comes with quality and a track record. Buendía's just been put back into the fold, so hopefully he can replicate something like the form that he showed in pre-season. But if you look at our our genuine attacking players, I'm discounting Tielemans and McGinn as genuine attacking players at the moment because I know they can play there. But these really 5 players are our attacking threat going forward. So I think we're a bit light up there. So where's this leading me to? Now, recently, we've been linked with 2 attacking minded players. One we all know about, and one has got a strong link to the manager, as we know, because he speaks very highly of Unai, and he looks like he's going to be surplus to requirements at his current club. So who are they? So I'm talking about Marco Asensio and Jackson. Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. Now, they ain't going to be cheap. Wages or transfer fees. Asensio, we could probably get a loan deal, another loan deal done for him, maybe a season-long loan deal. So that would negate a transfer fee, but we know the wages would be reasonably high. And as we've seen, and as I understand, it's almost one in, one out because we've got to make sure this wage bill isn't over 70%. So I think with the deals we've done, and I did a little adding up of the wages that we've lost. Ramsey, roughly 70,000. Kessler Hayden, 8. Bailey, 120. Barrenechea, 15. Coutinho, 130. Now, some of these were loaned last season, so they wouldn't have been on the wage bill, but these have gone permanently from our books now. Dendoncker, 75. Olsen, 50. And then some of the younger players, Marshall, Oscan, Zeke, 5,000 each. Gauchi, about 10. House, 10. And Moreno, of bit of research, 35. So hopefully there's a bit of wiggle room now appearing on this. So this, I think Asensio could be definitely coming. And I think they're going to try and maybe make a move for Nicholas Jackson. Does it mean anybody else has got to go out? Hopefully not. Apart from maybe 1 or 2 or more of the fringe players that I've just mentioned. I wouldn't want to sign Nicholas Jackson if it means we're letting Ollie Watkins go or any of the what you class as the crown jewels. But I think we would be a much stronger side with these 2 players in the squad. And I'll show you what I mean now. So if we bring up the page again, right. So if we class Marlon over here and Gassond over here, we bring Asensio in here, and we bring Nicholas Jackson in as a attacking player here, then immediately that just looks far better, doesn't it? Let's bring Jimo Aloba back because I do think he's the standout of the young kids and probably got the best chance of playing some minutes this season. So we've gone from having 5 attacking players to having 8. Now, for me, that's not a bad attacking outlet for Villa, is it? We class these four here, can also supplement the forward positions if needs be. Tielemans and McGinn. We've got cover at every position at the back, and we now possess two very good goalkeepers. So I think as units now, I think we're looking pretty good. If you're looking at these players here, and then the two forwards, we would possess two very, very good forwards. Now, you've only got to do a little bit of research on Jackson. You won't have to go very far to hear his conversations, his interviews, his written work about how highly he talks about Unai Emery. And Unai Emery's obviously got a good track record with him as well. So that deal, I know it's been in the press this week, but it's the one that's really took my eye. And I think if we're going to do a deal for a forward, that's possibly the most likely now. And I think the Asensio one is probably definitely going to happen. So if we end the transfer window with that squad, I think I would be very, very happy. Because essentially we've lost Ramsey, Bailey and Olsen that were first teamers, like genuine last season, played games for us. We've replaced Olsen with Bizot, who's an upgrade. I think we can all agree with that after one game. We would replace Ramsey with Asensio. And you could say we replace Bailey with Gassan. So that's three like for like. If you add Jackson in as well, then that replaces Duran from last season, which we never really replaced after he left. I know we brought in Rashford, who did supplement the attack. So if you could say that Duran left and then Rashford came in, and then Jackson, if he comes in, would be that supplementary centre forward. I'd be pretty happy with that. Then you've got the young kids to throw in as well, the Redmond, the Hemmings, the Burrows, the Pattersons, the Wrights and the Rose. I think that's a pretty good transfer window. After all of the worries and all the things that have happened in the summer, I would be very, very happy indeed to go into the window with that team and squad. But let me know what you think. It's just my musings really from news that's happened this week and from bits and snippets that I've seen in press and different outlets. So we'll see. Right, I have done a bit of a longer video on this Villa top, the new third kit. I do really like it. As I say, I'm a big fan of a purple kit anyway. It's a bit of a favourite colour of mine. So to have it as the Villa kit, I'll just bring myself down a bit there. And I think I said on the video earlier, it's an extra large. Extra large. I don't think I've been in an extra large for about 20 years. So there we go. One more little happy story I'm going to bring you. Now, I had a customer come up to me at work last week, and he asked if he could bring in some things to show me. And he brought me these programs. And then he ended the conversation by gifting them to me. I didn't want them because I felt it was too nice and they were too good to just be given. I won't go into the details surrounding the reasoning behind it because it's personal, but he was a lovely man, probably in his 70s. And he was worried that if anything happened to him, that his wife would just get rid of them. But he wanted me to have them. So I just want to show you them, to be honest, because I think it's really nice. And I think it just shows the connection that I've got from this podcast. I get emails all the time, messages all the time, people coming up to me all the time, especially from the older generation. I know there's lots and lots of content out there for the younger kids. Mine, looking at my analytics, is people my age or older. I've got people that are watching the 70s and their 80s, 60s. And I love that connection. I really do. I'd love to connect with the younger people about talking about the games and stuff, but I want to bring the history of the club to every generation. So this is just a few programs. One thing that made me laugh, and I will show you, is it was wrapped in this. So I thought that was wonderful. It just brilliant. I loved it. So there's one. The first one is I think it's a reprint of a program from 1906. It's the Villa News and Record. You've probably seen a few of these around anyway. So this was one of the original programs that Villa used to put out back in the day. So yeah, that's it. Doesn't even say who's against. This was Blackburn Rovers. You have to go to the middle page to find this. So yeah, I think it is a reprint, but it's a fantastic program. Look at that. So look at the team there: Harry Hampton, Walters, Millington, Cantrell, Pearson. I do love these. I've got a decent program collection anyway of my own, so maybe one day I'll do a video on those. This is lovely, but it made me a little bit sad. This was Gordon Cowan's testimonial brochure. You don't see testimonials anymore. This just doesn't happen. I've been looking through this today, and there's some really nice pictures. That's Platty and Sid training at Villa, so it's lovely. Some lovely pictures of him and his daughter, and him obviously playing a little bit of Sid as well. So this was, I say, his testimonial. So yeah, for those of you who are young enough to not know what testimonials are, it's when a player stayed at a club for a prolonged amount of time and they were granted a testimonial because they didn't earn great money back in those days. So they were granted a testimonial and then they got the proceeds of that game as a lump sum, I do believe, to help the families and stuff for when they're retired. Obviously, they're not around anymore because footballers don't need a testimonial, do they? There was a period when they used to be, they used to give the money to charity then. So they could maybe bring that back and do that. But then footballers are going to stick around at football clubs, haven't they, for a long period of time to have one. Right. There's not many, so don't worry. It's not going to be going on forever. This one's very interesting. This is an original. Now, I've not seen one of these before. So this is a extra edition of the European Cup final, but it's the German. So it's all in German. So that is Stadion Sporting News, extra edition, Europa Cup final, Bayern Munich, Aston Villa. So this is absolutely beautiful, sensational. I can't understand a word of it. It's all in German, but yeah, original teams there, all written out. You can always tell an old program, the smell. Lovely. So that's unbelievable. Quick one here. Everton away, Aston Villa, Wednesday, the 18th of September, 1974. And it was a League Cup Round 2 replay with the wonderful Ron Saunders on the front there. And the team, Aston Villa team, was Jim Coombs, John Gidman, Charlie Aiken, Ian Ross, Chris Nichol, John Robson, Ray Graydon, Brian Little, Sammy Morton, Ian, Chico Hamilton, and Frank Caridas. So a really nice team there. One of the early ones of Ron Saunders' era. Now another one here. This is another testimonial of Alex Cropley against Portsmouth. So that was Rimmer, Swain, Gibson, Evans, McNaught, Mortimer, Bremner, Shawwith, Cowans, Morley, Spink, Geddes, Hurd, a very young Mark Walters, and Mark Jones. So again, another testimonial. That was 1982. So that was a fantastic era for Aston Villa. So you can imagine that would have been packed out. Now, this one is probably the most interesting to me of all because we've just had our 150th anniversary. And this was a centenary edition of the Villa News and Record. So this celebrated our 100-year anniversary. And this was Villa Park, Wednesday, the 7th of August, 1974. And it was against Leeds United. So if I show you that, the official News and Record, I haven't seen this before. This is a friendly game against Leeds United. But what's interesting about this, and I didn't realise till I got this programme, is that a certain Brian Clough took over Leeds United. Now, if you don't know the story of when Brian Clough took over Leeds United, go and watch the film The Damned United. It is fantastic. He'd had a lot of success at his previous clubs. And he went to Leeds United and he lasted 44 days. So there was very, very few games that Brian Clough was in charge of Leeds. And I've got a programme of one of them. So I think that's quite a historical document. And I'm a big big Brian Clough fan. I've read a lot of his books, and I think you might have heard in some of my interviews with Peter With, who had him as a manager. You know, fascinating interview. So there you go. Okay, so that's it for the review. I think I've rabbited on long enough. I hope it's been a bit of interest to you. A little bit of chat about the players leaving, a little bit of chat about finances again. I think, delve a bit deeper into that Kieran Maguire website and try and find some interesting information to share with you over the coming months. And yeah, a couple of interesting incomings potentially. I don't know. What do you think? Would you like both of those in at Villa? Do you think we can get them done? Do you think the finances allow it? Would that mean it was a good window? Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. If you don't already subscribe to the channel, drop this video a like and get involved in the comment section. And I thank you, as always, for your continued support. And we will speak again very soon. Up the Villa.